Welcome to the Footprints on Earth, unveiling our impact on the environment. A thought-provoking exploration brought to you by the EarthKeepers Coalition. In this informational video, we delve into the intricate dynamics of our relationship with the environment, focusing on the key topics such as biogeochemical cycle, invasive species, and human influence on landscapes. Nature is a fundamental component of life on our planet, carefully knitting together the delicate balance of our life and water ecosystems. This synergy is especially evident in our country, the Philippines, where terrestrial landscapes are essential to both human well-being and biodiversity. The interconnection of different terrestrial ecosystems, ranging from lush forests to huge agricultural plains, emphasizes the need to understand their dynamics. Our goal is to clarify the vital function of our land-based ecosystem by examining the science and importance of the biogeochemical cycle, invasive species, anthropogenics, and epigenetic variables through a particular lens or the landscape of our country. So you may be wondering who discovered biogeochemical cycle. The person who discovered biogeochemical cycle and the founder of biogeochemistry is actually Vladimir Vernadsky, a Russian-Ukrainian scientist who was born on March 12, 1863 in St. Petersburg, Russia, and who also wrote a book, The Biosphere, in 1926. For this video, our lesson outcome would be first, biogeochemical cycle, second, anthropogenics, and third, invasive species, and lastly, the epigenetics.
What is biogeochemical cycle? Biogeochemical cycle stands for bio is for life, geo is for earth, and chemical is for chemical cycle. Biogeochemical cycle is the flow of chemicals element between living organisms and environment. Any of the natural pathways by which essential elements of living matter are circulated. The term biogeochemical is contraction that refers to the consideration of biological, geological, and chemical aspects of each cycle, in order for the living components of major ecosystem to survive. All the chemical elements that make up living cells must be recycled continuously. Next, we have the four types of biogeochemical cycle. We have the hydrocycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and the phosphorus cycle. The hydrologic cycle maintains water availability on land through evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. Evaporation replenishes the atmosphere with moisture, which later condenses into clouds and falls back as precipitation, sustaining life on land and water bodies. Runoff transport nutrients, shaping landscapes and replenish habitats. On land, the carbon cycle regulates atmospheric carbon dioxide levels and support plant growth. Plants absorb carbon dioxide during photosynthesis, releasing it into the soil upon decomposition. Human activities disrupt this cycle, impacting climate patterns. Similarly, the nitrogen cycles maintain soil fertility by converting atmospheric nitrogen into forms plants can use. Human activities like agricultural fertilization disrupt this balance, leading to environmental degradation. The slower phosphorus cycle underscores the interconnectedness of land process, highlighting the importance of sustainability land management for ecosystem preservation. The Philippines is an archipelago comprising over 7,107 Southeast Asian islands and divided into three major island groups. We have Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Known as one of the 70 mega diverse countries, the Philippines boasts diverse terrestrial diversity and ecosystem services. Within its land ecosystem, essential biogeochemical cycle, including carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur, are tightly interconnected, facilitating nutrient cycling, energy flow, and overall ecosystem health. Nevertheless, human activities such as deforestation, urbanization, and agriculture pose considerable threats, disrupting these cycles and altering nutrient management practices. Conservation initiatives and policy intervention are crucial. Collaborative efforts involving government agencies, researchers, local communities, and stakeholders are essential for achieving sustainable development goals and bolstering the resilience of the Philippine land ecosystem in the face of a global environmental change.
As mentioned, the Philippines is recognized as one of the few countries to be and still be rich in biodiversity and is considered a biological hotspot by many. This is because of how much greenery, flora, and species may be found in the country, most of which are native to the country, such as the Philippine eagle. However, the country continues to face deforestation despite laws and policies implemented aimed at protecting and maintaining biodiversity. According to Global Forest Watch, the country had 13.1 million hectares of natural forest, extending over 60% of its land area in 2010. Last year in 2023, the country was recorded to have lost 32.4 thousand hectares of natural forests, equivalent to 25.6 million metric tons of CO2 emissions. Aside from deforestation, numerous human practices contribute to CO2 emissions. These practices may be directly or indirectly done and may not be known by people. Some examples of these are the Filipino jeepney and street food.
Street food, because the primary material for its food containers are plastic cups, only for it to end up in the trash or even in the streets after a single use. Why plastics? The manufacturing process of the material involves the combustion of fossil fuels to provide energy for power-hungry machinery needed to create the material. It is well known that the country is implementing the jeepney phase-out, and as I am discussing this, it is still currently ongoing. However, many resist as its implementation needs to consider what happens with current jeepney drivers and how they may still be able to provide for their families. Although its design is leaned towards more on an environmentally friendly design, it fails to assess people's situations. According to the Department of Transportation, a single unit of the modern jeepneys could cost around between 1.4 million pesos and 3 million pesos depending on the unit. Given those numbers, it would be incredibly difficult for current public transportation individuals to adjust to these changes, especially at these price points where they will most likely end up in debt just trying to purchase these modern jeepneys to sustain their livelihood. In summary, the majority of our actions can lead to the production of CO2 emissions, not only such of those that I mentioned here, but numerous ways. We indirectly and directly and may or may not know of these things that we do to contribute to the CO2 emissions. Ultimately, these can cause climate change, and it can cause harsh and random weathers affecting land, people, and farmers. For example, floods can affect crop yields and quality, affecting the livelihood of farmers. Now knowing this, we can work towards reducing CO2 emissions given the information that has been discussed by you about anthropogenics, the effect of humans to nature.
The Philippines' mountainous terrain and tropical climate make it highly susceptible to soil erosion, particularly during typhoon season. The eroded soil, which is often rich in organic matter and nutrients, accumulates in lower areas, creating fertile grounds for invasive species such as Micania micrantha, commonly known as the mile-a-minute weed. This weed thrives in nutrient-rich deposits, quickly smothering crops and native forest species under a blanket of rapid growth. The altered landscapes and buried seed banks prevent native plants from reestablishing, fundamentally changing the ecosystem structure and function.
In the Philippines, excessive use of nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizer has caused soil nutrients imbalances and degradation. Although aimed at boosting crop yields, this practice often disrupts the balance of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, reducing soil fertility over time. The common use of urea worsens the problem, enhancing short-term yields at the expense of soil acidification and mineral depletion. This imbalance not only lowers the efficiency of fertilizers, diminishing economic returns, but also contributes to environmental damage and facilitates the spread of invasive species like Micania micrantha.
Based on everything that was explained, it is clear that one of the main culprits responsible for affecting the physiology, behavior, and lifestyle of many living organisms is the imbalance in the actions done by human intervention. People engage too much in activities that negatively impact the environment while doing too little in counteracting the effects of those negative activities. These imbalances affect everyone, not just the organisms and the immediate surroundings. Essentially, what we do is what the environment becomes, and what the environment becomes is what we, the living organisms, adapt and get used to. We must break the cycle and do the opposite of what we are currently doing to turn the tide and contribute to the welfare of all living beings now and for future generations.
Influences in environmental factors such as pollution from gases have significant effects on human health, particularly impacting vulnerable groups like children and the elderly. The World Health Organization identifies air pollutants as contributors to various health issues including stroke, heart diseases, lung cancer, and pneumonia. Additionally, there's a suggestive evidence linking air pollutant exposure to adverse pregnancy, outcomes like lower birth rates, and neurological disorders. Moreover, excess fertilizers can paradoxically harm crop yields, promote invasive species growth, and deplete natural resources, ultimately disrupting ecosystems and food availability for native species.
As we conclude our journey here on The Footprints on Earth, unveiling our impact on the environment, we hope that we reached you and we made you understand how interconnected we are to our environment. Together, let's continue to walk towards a greener, brighter, and a healthier future ahead. Thank you for joining us into this important journey, and I hope that all of these learnings will be taken into heart. Thank you.